Hey, I hope all is well. I'm curious, well, I know you're curious to know what we're going to be talking about today. And not this. This is some tea. Let me move this out the way. These bags of coffee are old. I sold these in a store and they didn't sell through. So I went ahead and picked up a couple and I thought that was going to be a really good, interesting take on drinking old coffee. Right now, it's sort of kind of mid-December and these coffees were roasted by me, 3/1/2024. So 9 months ago. Okay. So this one right here, he requests to get either whole beans or ground coffee. So this is ground coffee, which we're going to be tasting. And then this is the beans. Okay. So why would you do this? You probably wouldn't do this. This doesn't make sense for you to really do, but you never know how good the coffee really is, especially at this time that you're drinking the coffee. So let's see what we taste. Let's see how it actually extracts, actually brews, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Freshly opened. Now the first thing we're going to do is smell the coffee, okay? Smells fine. I guess it kind of smells a little old, but it does smell like coffee. Since you are hopefully enjoying the video, if you like, subscribe. So passes the test that way, okay? Let's go and open up this other one. Smells really good. Okay, so that's a cheer for these one-way valves, okay? Let's go ahead and get our stuff ready to go. We are going to do, kind of match. We're going to do a 1 to 115 ratio. So we're gonna do about 10 grams of coffee. This is about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, it's 10 grams. We're gonna do a 50-gram pulse for about 30 seconds. Okay. There's no bloom whatsoever. Not all the grounds are actually agitated, but that's fine. We're just tasting this. That's the big thing that we're really trying to get after. Try any ratio that you want, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to taste these coffees for what they are, being 9 months old. Especially this one. This one is ground already. So we're gonna see if the whole grinding pre and post matters that much, okay? Okay. We're not timing anything. This should be relatively a quick brew. The smell's not really coming through on the coffee, which is fine. Let it come down a little bit more. So now we're gonna pour the rest of the recipe. You kind of hear that actually, right? There we go, that's 152, okay. This is this one. And then we're gonna get about 10 grams. All right, 10 grams of coffee, whole beans. We're gonna use the King Grinder K2. I have a grind setting that I almost use for all coffees, so we'll talk about that another time. So this is the first time actually grinding this coffee that's whole beans. And I know what these coffees taste like. Let's see if we can get a smell from it. No, not really. No real smell on this coffee. So remember that on my right, your left, this is the pre-ground coffee already, okay? We're not wetting the filter or anything like that, okay? 10, 11 grams. A little bit more bloom, but really it's still not that much of a bloom, okay? We're gonna wait a little bit. It's long enough. 100 grams of water inside of the April brewer, and we're just using a regular Cleaner Wave filter, so it's not a fast one. It just takes the time that it takes in order to brew the cup of coffee. Let it draw down a little bit more, and then we'll go ahead and do our last pour, 2 pours, same as you saw, the same exact pour and everything. We're gonna let this drip through. So again, why would you do this? You probably wouldn't do this at all, but let's just say somebody did give you a bag of coffee just out of being nice and everything, and they actually had the roast date on the coffee, and you noticed that it was old as fuck. That's the best way I can really say it right now. Old coffee. So what do you do about that? How do you go about drinking it? Do you drink it at all? Does it really taste good? So let's see what this tastes like. This is my first impression. You saw me open the bag and everything, so let's go from there. This is the pre-ground coffee, 9 months old. Yeah. It's flat. There's no real taste to it. It's presentable. It's actually still presentable. I will say this is perfect for creamer coffee. I don't taste any oldness on the coffee, which is surprising. I thought I would actually, but I think there's a lot to say about these one-way valve. You know, I didn't like vacuum seal it or whatever or anything like that. Some crazy amount of seal. And just a regular seal at the top, and then use these bags. All right, so let's put this one here. And this is the one that was whole beans. And we're just tasting it, just seeing what we can taste. We'll see if it actually tastes a little bit more vibrant. About the same. A little bit, just a little bit more flavor, if I would call it that. But it's still presentable, it's still approachable, and it still kind of works. Is it flat? Yes, it is flat. Is it juicy? No, not really. So I think there's a couple things that you can do in order to make sure that you can drink or enjoy this coffee as much as you can. I think one of the things that you can do is make it a lot stronger. We're gonna actually try that right now that I'm thinking about it. We're gonna make it a lot stronger. So we're gonna do like a 10-to-1 ratio, even an 8-to-1, just to see if we can bring up more of the flavor of the coffee. Okay, so let me get things set up real quick, and then we're gonna talk about it some more. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and use the pre-ground coffee because it's already done. It's already easy, and that wasn't that big of a difference between the they rendered 20 grams. I think we're gonna take this to about 160. Okay, so we're gonna let that drain out, and we're going to just continue to drink these coffees as they cool, because flavors are a little bit more pronounced. They come out a lot more compared to when it was actually hot, piping hot, you know, after the brew. So let's taste the pre-ground coffee. Yeah, I think it's very weak. I could do a TDS, but we're not gonna do that. The flavors are not as pronounced as they should be of what I remember this coffee tasting like. Get some water, clean the palate. So let's go ahead and try the one that was whole beans, and we just grounded the coffee just now. Still more so the same. I don't think I tasted anything of significance that's that big of a deal between these two coffees. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably you actually grinding the coffee a little bit earlier, depending on your case. You can do that, but as long as you keep it in these bags, self-contained, I think that's going to be one of the biggest factors in all of this, okay? So let's taste this one at a 8-to-1 ratio. Let me do the math right now. 200 grams, 8.5-to-1, okay? Cheers. Oh, wow. Sounds better. It's actually drinkable. There's no texture on the coffee whatsoever. I think that's part of what you will get if it's actually really fresh, but there's no like real texture onto this coffee. The flavors are there. It's actually more pronounced. I do taste a little bit of what I'm smelling in a cup of coffee, like that, probably the age of the coffee, if that makes sense. But I think the biggest thing is that there's a lot more flavor in this cup of coffee, which should be because you actually use a stronger strength level. But I think that's what you're gonna have to do no matter what if you're dealing with this type of coffee. Old coffee that you're kind of on the fence of like if you're gonna like or not. It's gonna be extremely important that you go ahead and grind the coffee the way that you need to, but just make it stronger. I think the flavors are going to come out a little bit more. I will say this, what I'm tasting in these particular coffees right now, that it just dies real quickly. So when you drink it, you're drinking that quick flavor of the coffee instantly. Yeah. It's not bad. It is kind of 1-2 notes. I think you'll taste a little bit more of what the coffee really is. It feels a lot fresher, but this is 9 months old, so it should show some age actually. And I think that's one of the things that we have to take in consideration. Would you do this all the time? No, you wouldn't do this all the time, but I think these are like some of the things that you can actually do with this particular coffee when you're actually presented with a case like this. Why would you buy old coffee? You wouldn't. Why would you do that purposely unless they discounted the coffee? If you got it as a gift or just something happened where you got back to it late and you left it out, I would highly suggest that you go ahead and freeze your coffee and then just bring out whatever you need in order to enjoy it. But this is really not too bad. Is it flat? Does it die quickly in the flavors? Yes, it does. But if you make it a little bit stronger and that initial taste, that's more so what you're going to be tasting most of the time. And that's really what you can do with this coffee. Is it complex? It's not as complex as it should be if it was fresher. What I tasted recently with this particular coffee as it's freshly roasted. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest indicators that you're missing with old coffee versus new coffee is that the flavors are not as pronounced. But when you do taste something, it just dies quickly. That's the biggest observation that I'm noticing right now. I believe there is a limit of how old the coffee should be for you. But if you're just tasting it and just want to use up a bag of coffee, you don't have to throw it in the trash. You can truly, really just make it a lot stronger compared to what these two are. And I think you will be able to enjoy the coffee for what it is. Yeah. My go-to ratio is a 1-to-15 ratio. This tastes to me like a 1-to-18, 1-to-20 ratio. So it loses a lot of the spunk that the coffee truly, really has at the 1-to-15 ratio. I know this was grounded already. I know it was probably grounded, of course, on my EK43. So the grind size is just right. This one right here, it's a little bit there, but again, it tastes like a 1-to-18 to 1-to-20 ratio type of coffee. Very flat, not really tasty, not desirable to me. You may like it like that, okay? But that's just my observation of what I'm noticing in this cup of coffee. Yeah. It's there. It's not too bad. It's really not. I'm not just saying that, but why don't you try some coffee, some old coffee yourself, and really have an objective type of view at it. See if you taste any oat notes or oatness in the coffee. Probably taste it or test it with a newer coffee that's freshly roasted, that if you can possibly get the exact same coffee to see if you can taste the different characteristics of the coffee. I know this coffee for the most part, and what I'm tasting is a coffee that has lost a lot of like the follow through, the carryover of what this coffee is. Is it acidic? No, it's not really acidic whatsoever, but it does have layers to it, especially when it was freshly roasted. This particular coffee is flavor in there if you do a 1-to-10, 1-to-8 ratio, and it's not gonna bite you in the face. I believe it's not. It's very approachable. It reminds me more or closer to the 1-to-15 ratio coffee that I normally drink, strength level. And you're not gonna get the complexity of what the coffee is either. Just in your mouth, it dies. It doesn't really keep telling the story. And even as it cools down, it's more so like the same type of notes, tasting notes that you're tasting. So that's what I got for you. Let me know what you think about this 9-month-old coffee. It really, truly isn't that bad. I can't say that for other people's coffee, but try it. See what you taste of it. I won't say purposely do this to go to the grocery store if you're in a pinch and just put best sell date. You can probably play around with that, but make it a little bit stronger, and I think you won't really be disappointed even if you drink it as a black coffee. Okay, so that's what I got for you. Let me know if you have any questions or whatever. Talk to you later. Bye.